good morning, everyone. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kittiac Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody who's joined us here on our program. I would ask you all to please excuse our latest attempt to use our computer, but apparently YouTube doesn't like us, and they're doing everything in their power to make sure we don't do these broadcasts, which is very unfortunate for them and very unfortunate for us. We're going to get some specialized help in the next day or so to make sure this does not continue. But I want to come on the air tonight to tell you about some earthquakes that have happened around the globe. That's number one. Number two, I want to talk about the police. I want to talk about the police because May is National Police Month. And usually during National Police Month, we gather together as law enforcement in our communities and with the public there with us and honor those officers who have passed away during the past year. We buried another officer in Charlotte on Friday morning, this past Friday morning. Officer Iyer was one of 4 officers killed in Charlotte, North Carolina last Monday, a week ago today. We buried Officer Iyer Friday with the complete full police escort and police honors and military honors as well at a local cemetery in Charlotte. It was a beautiful ceremony conducted at the First Baptist Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. He was accompanied by his family of blood, his wife, and also the members of his law enforcement community. He was also accompanied to the church and to the cemetery by the law enforcement community at large, including officers from as far away as Canada and Britain, Utah, Idaho, and California. We thank all of those officers that joined Officer Iyer's family to honor Officer Iyer's memory. We thank you for that. However, another officer has been killed Sunday morning. I want to turn this video around and show you a video from Sunday morning in Utah.
We asked that as a community and as a department to stand up this morning.
Let me back this up.
Members of the media today on a very hard day for law enforcement, for members of the Santa Cruz community, but for all members of the state of Utah. We have a fallen officer in Texas. Today we'll be giving a situation update on what's been happening over the last this morning. First, we'll hear from Lieutenant Corey Slaymaker with the Santa Cruz City Police Department, who's been asked to provide PIO duties for Santa Cruz City. But then we'll hear from Lieutenant Mike Wall with a statement from the Santa Cruz City Police Department, followed by Lieutenant Ronald. We'll hear from Daniel Olson, who is the Santa Cruz City Mayor. Following the mayor, we'll hear from Chief Beebe with the Public Police Department, who is handling the processions. We'll proceed in that.
Lieutenant Corey Slaymaker with Frankfurt City Police Department. On behalf of Santa Cruz City, they have asked that I provide the pressure of these are heartfelt condolences go out to Santa Cruz Police Department, the Santa Cruz community, and this is a very traumatic incident for not only them but for the state of Utah. A few details about what occurred this morning. This morning, just before 6 a.m., the UHP Richville office received a 911 call about an individual standing on the back of a semi-trailer as it was traveling northbound. The Santaquin officer, as well as a UHP trooper, located the semi in the area of I-15 around mile marker 244 just before 6:30 a.m. this morning and conducted a traffic stop. During the traffic stop, the driver of the semi fled and drove northbound a short distance before turning around and driving the wrong way back towards the Santaquin officer as well as the UHP trooper. The semi truck hit the Santaquin officer, also his vehicle, as well as the UHP trooper's vehicle. The Santaquin officer died at the scene after being struck by the semi. The semi driver then fled on foot and is believed that he has stolen multiple vehicles and is still at large and is possibly armed and dangerous. It was just confirmed prior to this press release that the suspect was taken into custody. The suspect is believed to have stolen a white Ford F-150 in the San Pete County area. The suspect is identified as 41-year-old Michael Aaron Jane. The suspect was located in the Vernal area and after a short pursuit crashed the stolen vehicle and was taken into custody.
Hey, Lieutenant Mike Wall, San Jose Police Department. Apologize. Today, early this morning, we got notified that one of our officers had been killed in line of duty. And our entire department is hurt. And the family of the officer is hurt. Because of a senseless act by one individual. We have family members who will miss their father at their nearing wedding. But I can assure you, we as a police department will stand up and we will be there, and we are a one family. We would like to give thanks to the many agencies throughout Utah that have stepped in and supported and helped. And also the support of the community. And we thank them, and we ask that as a community and as a department, we stand up as one. Thank you.
I'm Mayor Dan Olson of Santaquin. This is a difficult day, a day that tends to rock a community that's very tight-knit and caring. The past few years, we have been very close with our police department, and as mayor, the police, our public safety has been one of our number one priorities. We respect them. We love them. They are an integral part of our city. This is a tough loss for us.
Just so you know, those of you that just gotten here, we have had numerous police officers killed during the last week in the line of duty. Like I said just a few minutes ago, when I was on the air, I told you all that one of our own was killed. Actually, 4 officers were killed in Charlotte, North Carolina 1 week ago today. We buried that officer on Friday. Representatives of the departments all around the U.S., Canada, and also Britain attended that funeral. 3 other officers will be laid to rest this week here in Charlotte, North Carolina. 4 other officers were wounded in the shootout with a drug suspect. Sunday morning here in Utah. I'm not in Utah, I used to live there. Sunday morning, a police officer in Santaquin, Utah, which is about an hour and a half south of Salt Lake City, had pulled over a semi-truck. In the process of that traffic stop, the driver of that semi-truck took off. He went down the highway and made a U-turn and headed back on the same highway in the wrong direction and went back and ran over the officer who we're mourning now. I'm trying to give you an update on what happened. Just a few minutes ago, you heard from the police chief from Santaquin, Utah. Now we have the mayor here. Let me let you listen to the last part of his statement.
And we have a tremendous community. I want to assure that community that we have the best. We have incredible people that serve this community. And this loss is one of those difficult times that we will struggle with for some time. And we will do our best, supporting each other, loving one another, and loving those men in blue that serve us every day. I don't know that I can say much more than I am so proud of our city, so proud of those that serve. The citizens and people throughout the United States have contacted me this morning, along with the governor, to let us know that they are aware of the situations and they support us 100%. We have an incredible community and communities that work together. I thank all of those police chiefs around us, the officers that have responded to help us, and it's amazing. I thank you for this.
Troy Beebe, Provo Police Department. To honor a fallen officer, we often have a procession. That procession will start as soon as the investigation is allowed for them to release and leave. I suspect that will be in the next half hour to 45 minutes. It will travel north on I-15. We invite those that want to show their respects to do so. The end location is the medical examiner's office.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who have joined us here, who have not been part of Emergency Management Associates before, I want you to know that I served in law enforcement for 24 years. That's why I'm covering this individual incident. That's why I will attempt to pay tribute to all fallen law enforcement officers. I understand there was someone here in the chat saying that a law enforcement officer in Chicago had also been killed during the weekend. We pay tribute to his family and to his memory as well. I have attended so many funerals for police officers that it's not funny at all. Just a few minutes ago, someone tried to make a snide comment about police, and I deleted him. he will never ever be able to make another snide comment on this channel again. I pay tribute to all people who lose their lives in the service to their fellow man. Now, I usually talk about earthquakes, tornadoes, all kinds of weather events that happen, all kinds of disasters that happen. That's one of the reasons I cover police officer deaths. It's a tragedy. It's a disaster of sorts. It's a disaster for families. Each and every one of us face those same catastrophes in our own lives. That's one of the reasons we talk about emergency preparedness so much on this program. We ask everyone to be prepared. Every day without fail, we ask people to be prepared. We ask people and show people how they can do that. I know for a fact that a lot of people don't even pay attention to what I say. They don't bother doing any preparing for themselves or their families. They listen with a blind eye, if you will. I pity those families when they face an emergency in their own lives. That emergency could be unemployment, a spouse or yourself becoming unemployed, your child becoming unemployed, no longer able to support his family. Any member of a family can face a disaster in their lives. We need to prepare for those things. That is why we talk about emergency preparedness on this channel. We talk about fires, we talk about floods, we talk about rain events, we talk about hurricanes, we talk about heavy snow events as well, because people die in those. People get caught in snow events and they don't come out of it. We want people to save themselves. We want to teach people they can help themselves as well as other family members by becoming prepared. That's why we talk about this. I get made fun of all the time because we are here talking about preparedness. Just a couple minutes ago, we had 77 people watching this program. That number has gone down by 2. Let's see how far those numbers go down. I'm hoping those numbers go up. I'm honestly hoping those numbers go up. Now, folks, I've got a lot of stuff to talk about. During this past weekend, and folks, I do my research. I pull as much information as I possibly can about earthquakes and disasters all around the world. I want to show you what happened this past weekend in Utah, northern Utah. There was an earthquake that USGS said was a 4.5 near Thatcher, Utah. Incredible. Incredible because USGS lied to the public again. Again. Why? Why do they continue to lie? Why do they continue to say something that's false and also not reporting the truth? I want to show you where this earthquake occurred, because there have been a great number of earthquake aftershocks since that earthquake hit. Okay, so let's go over to Idaho or northern Utah right now, and I want to show you what happened. Okay, there's over 20 plus earthquakes there right now. Okay, I want to show you this. Right now it shows 20 there in the center and an earthquake off to the side to the northwest being a 0.92, which is a microquake, and off to the southeast, which is a 0.98 1.0 tremor there. Let's go back here and show you these other earthquakes. Okay, look at that. There's close to 40 earthquakes here. Close to 40 earthquakes here in northern Utah, near Thatcher, Utah. Now, they're still reporting 3.0s here. They're still reporting 2.11s here, aftershocks. Okay, that's not all, guys. 3.5s as well. If this was really a 4.5, we would not have this many aftershocks. I went to the USGS seismologist or back seismologist study page. They showed this as a 4.3. A 4.3 earthquake. Really? Did they really think that they were going to hide the information from us? Folks, I'm bigger than that. I'm a lot bigger than that. I went to the back seismologist study page before I came on the air. Folks, over 40 aftershocks. Over 40 aftershocks that they're showing here. It's incredible. Just briefly, let me turn this camera around so I can show you this one earthquake here. That earthquake I'm highlighting right now is a 3.0 small quake. Look at all these aftershocks here. 2 days later. 2 days later. Folks, let me tell you about this earthquake. They put it out as a 4.4 originally. They downgraded it to a 4.3. They said there are 40 stations reporting it. They lied about that as well. They covered it up. The fact of the matter is this. There were 63 stations reporting that earthquake. 63 stations reporting that earthquake. Guess what? That earthquake was not a 4.3. It was not a 4.3. Folks, that earthquake was a 6.89 earthquake. I did all the math. I took all the lists of stations that they had, and I took each station's reporting sensor reading. I multiplied it out, or I added it up and divided it out. 60 divided by, or I'm sorry, not 60 divided by 400, what was it, 452, if you add up all the sensor readings, it added up to 452.01. I divided that by the number of stations reporting. This earthquake was a 6.89 magnitude quake. A 6.89 magnitude quake in northern Utah. Now, I'm going to do something else here. I want to show you where this earthquake was. Exactly where it was. And why. Why I want to go there. This earthquake was on what they call the Wasat Fault. This earthquake was on the Wasat Fault here. Let me try to move this over so you can see it. This earthquake was northeast of the Great Salt Lake. Okay? Let me move this down a little bit. North of here, we go up into Idaho. Right up here, we go up into Idaho. The Wasatch Fault starts way up here. There are 7 segments of the Wasatch Fault. 7 segments. This is either on the northern segment, the northernmost segment I call segment 1, or it's on segment 2. Why am I differentiating where it's at? Because, folks, see where this earthquake hit? Right here. See where it hit right here? We go up into Idaho here. This is the beginning of the Wasat Fault up here. The Wasat Fault extends all the way down here to Milford, Utah. Down here to Milford, Utah. Okay? Why am I talking about it? Because, folks, what happened up here in northern Utah could happen anywhere. It could happen almost anywhere. Why am I saying this? Because, folks, on the Wasatch Fault, this whole area here, any segment could happen. Any segment could happen where we'd have a major earthquake. And this was nearly a major earthquake. It was not a moderate earthquake, as they try to purport it to be. This was a 6.89. Basically a 6.9 earthquake. This rattled everybody in this area, not just in Thatcher, Utah. This whole area rattled. Today, we're still having aftershocks. Today, 2 days after the earthquake hit. Each segment could experience a 6.89 to a 7.5 earthquake, each individual segment. Like I said, there are 7 segments here to the Wasatch Fault. Any segment or all 7 could go at the same time. Any individual segment or all 7 segments could go at the same time. When I first moved to Salt Lake City, I spoke with emergency managers. I spoke with all kinds of people, scientists. I spoke to everybody. And they said, "Oh, Ron, you don't have to worry about Salt Lake City. Nothing's going to happen. If it's going to happen at all, the biggest earthquake we're going to get is a 6.5. Before I left Salt Lake City 3 years ago, the talk on the street between the scientists and emergency managers were an earthquake on the Wasatch Fault could be as large as a 7.5 earthquake. A 7.5 earthquake. Saturday, we had a 6.89 earthquake, 6.9 earthquake. And USGS tried to get by with saying it was only a 4.3. It was only a 4.3. They lied through their teeth. They absolutely lied through their teeth. Incredible. A 6.9 earthquake is displayed by the U.S. Geological Survey, the preeminent seismic agency in the world, called out a 6.9 earthquake as a 4.3 moderate quake. And they've now designed the Richter scale that they put up as a 4.3 light earthquake. It's not even called a moderate earthquake anymore. What a crock of crap that is. It's not even called a moderate earthquake. They want to get by and say, "Oh, it's really not that bad, Ron. Oh, it's not really that bad. Nothing's really going to happen." Bowser is asking me to give you a history of earthquakes until 2014 on the East Coast. Bowser, guess what? Tomorrow you're going to get your wish come true. Please tune in for that information tomorrow evening. After 6 p.m., I will have all of that information about the East Coast earthquakes. He's talking about Virginia. Virginia. He's probably talking also about that big earthquake. That very major earthquake, a 7.1 earthquake in Northern Virginia, where it was felt all the way into Washington, D.C., all the way down the coast to Florida. A major earthquake, a 7.0 earthquake in Virginia. We continue having earthquakes up and down the entire coastline, the east coast of the United States. It happens. The reason I wanted to talk about this earthquake here tonight is because the agency tried to put it out as a lesser quake, a much lesser quake, where the agency would be saying to us, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. A 7.0 earthquake. This was a 6.9. 6.89, 6.9. It could have had disastrous consequences if this earthquake had struck a major population center, i.e. Logan, Utah, i.e. Layton, Utah, i.e. Provo, Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah. A major population center would have been devastated by this quake, and it was a lot larger than a 4.5. That's one of the reasons I look at the Beck seismologist study page. I look at seismograms all over the world because I want to find the truth, because the agencies are not willing to tell us the truth. How dare we ask for the truth? How dare we ask for the truth? They don't want to tell us the truth. Oh, they're too stupid to understand. As I have reported to you before, one of the reasons they don't want to tell us the truth is this. I'm trying to turn this over to my forward-facing camera here. There we go. One of the reasons, and the biggest reason they don't want to tell us the truth, is because they believe, and that they believe everything they want to tell us. They are being told what to tell us by politicians. Politicians are telling them. Because politicians want to keep their jobs. Let's take, for example, a city along the coast of Washington or Oregon or California. The politicians are telling the USGS not to be honest with telling what the earthquakes really are. Why? Why would they do it to us? Because they want to stay employed. The politicians want to stay in office. And as long as people live there, the politicians are going to continue to be in office and they're going to be paid. The politicians can continue to lie to us all the time. And they believe it's okay. They believe it's just going to be fine. Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid that we have the truth. The politicians are telling these people, and I'm talking about managers at USGS, they're trying to tell the managers at USGS, don't tell the truth. Heaven forbid, don't tell the truth. Let's take this a step further. Everyone that does not get the information, okay? Say, for instance, we have a bunch of residents that all of a sudden decide to leave a community because they fear an earthquake is going to hit there. a major earthquake or a volcano is going to erupt. If they know that, they're going to leave, right? If those people are not there to pay taxes, who's going to fix the road? Where is the money that's there going to come from if people are not paying their taxes? They no longer live there. Let's take it a step further. How about all those people who own businesses in those towns? All of a sudden, people move out of those towns and the businesses have nobody to buy their product from. And all of a sudden, guess what happens? The businesses no longer can sell product to the consumers. And they leave the area as well. They take off. They take off. It's amazing what they think they can get away with. They take off, the population takes off, and all of a sudden there's nobody there. Who is going to pave the streets? Who's going to keep the stoplights on? Who is going to operate the city? Is anybody going to be in City Hall if people aren't there? No, they're going to lose their jobs as well. And if nobody's there paying taxes, the politicians are going to be out of work as well. So that is who is telling USGS not to be honest with the public. That's why. That's why USGS lied about the strength of this quake in northern Utah, calling it 4.3, because it's further up in the hills and nobody's going to really care. Thatcher, Utah is a town of about 10 or 15,000 people. Some people got hurt by that earthquake. There's no reported deaths, but some people got hurt. What's going to happen? Nothing. USGS got away with this time. Guess what's going to happen? Guess what's going to happen? This is going to happen in a major population center. Back in March, on March 18th, 2017, in Salt Lake City, Utah, there was an event there. It was a 5.6 earthquake that did millions of dollars of damage in Salt Lake City, all around Salt Lake City. It was my mother's birthday. She passed away in 1991. I was sitting on the edge of my bed ready to get up when the bed started shaking. I was 25 miles away from a 5.6 earthquake. The bed shook. It felt like a small 3.5, 3.7 earthquake. I thought, okay, no big deal. But once I turned on the social media and the media local in that area, all of a sudden I learned that that was a 5.6 large earthquake with a lot of damage. It wasn't found out until weeks later that it was far stronger. I felt it was a 3.5, 25 miles to the south. It was a 5.6 earthquake. This was a 6.9. 6.9. Over 200 times as strong as that 5.6. Imagine if this had struck a major population center. Salt Lake City, Layton, Utah, Brigham City, Utah, Logan, Utah, Salt Lake City, Provo, down into Santaquin, with only maybe 25,000 people there. Or much worse yet, in St. George or Cedar City or Los Angeles. Let's say it happened in Los Angeles. Do you think that people would get away, USGS would get away with calling it a 4.3 in Los Angeles with major damage in Los Angeles? Because that is exactly what would have happened. That is exactly what would have happened. And people would have been killed in Los Angeles. With that kind of damage from an earthquake, that large, people would be dead. People would be dead and dying on the streets. In Northridge, California in 1994, one of my police partners and I responded from San Diego because the Northridge Police and LAPD and LA Sheriff's Office asked everyone from all the departments all over California to send people there to help out. That was an earthquake. That was a 6.9 earthquake. Major damage. It killed people. This earthquake that happened near Thatcher, Utah, Saturday, could have killed people in Los Angeles all over again. USGS would not have a chance to make a comment being a 4.3 earthquake in LA. That's what I'm talking about here. I'm slapping the hands of the United States Geological Survey tonight. Folks, you need to understand, this was as major an earthquake as they've had in Utah in years and years. Yet they're calling it a 4.3. That's great. That's great. If this had happened in Seattle, what would have happened? We know darn well what would have happened in Seattle or the Tacoma area, because we have had earthquakes hit there with major damage and deaths as a result of those earthquakes. That's what's happening. Nobody cares. The politicians don't care, unfortunately. But I'm telling you, there are people like myself that are not scared, but I'm prepared and I'm ready to do what I can to help anybody. And this is just a good example of what's going on. This is exactly what I've been talking about all along. A major earthquake being reported as nothing, only because it occurred in a rural area. Incredible. This is stupidity on the government's part. As I said a few minutes ago, there are 7 segments to the Wasat Fault. One of the southernmost segments is down near Milford, Utah. Why am I even talking about it? It's important. There just happens to be a volcano down there. It's called the Black Rock Desert Volcano. West of there is the southernmost segment of the Wasatch Fault. Today, over in Milford, Utah, at the Black Rock Desert Volcano, they said there was a surface quake, a 0.0 surface quake. I call BS on that. That was a 2.0 earthquake in Milford, Utah. the USGS tried putting off as a 0.0 shaker. No damage. A 2.2 minor earthquake in Milford, Utah today at the Black Rock Desert volcano. Why am I even talking about this? Because, guys, magma is flowing to all the volcanoes. All the volcanoes are waking up, including that volcano in central Utah, the Black Rock Desert volcano. There are earthquakes south of there over in Cedar City. Earthquakes south of that in St. George, Utah. That's why those areas are getting hit with earthquakes today. Magma beneath the surface fracturing the rocks in that area, in the magma chambers or in the magma tunnels before it even reaches the volcano. Magma fracturing those rocks, causing earth movement. That's what's happening. And it's literally happening around the world. Today, literally all over the world we've had earthquakes. A lot of earthquakes. A lot of earthquakes, guys. Now, one of the largest earthquakes today hit in Russia. Ingvakanok, Russia. Northern Russia. A large 5.3 earthquake hit there. That wasn't the only one. It was not the only earthquake to hit. Over in South America, northern South America, over near Ecuador, a 5.0 earthquake hit there. A large earthquake with aftershocks. With aftershocks. What else has happened? I want to go back over to Taiwan. Taiwan, just over a month ago, about a month and a half ago, had a major earthquake hit there. An 8.4 earthquake hit there, and they tried to pass that off as a 6.5. An 8.4 earthquake hit there. Guess what, folks? We have continued to have aftershocks over near Hualien City, Taiwan, on the east coast of Taiwan. Today, a 5.4 earthquake hit there, as well as several other aftershocks, including but not only a 4.8. A 4.8 and a 4.7 south of there in the northern Philippines. They tried to pass that Taiwan earthquake off as a lesser earthquake. And yet, we continue to have large aftershocks ever since. That doesn't happen with that kind of an earthquake. It would not happen. Today, over in southeastern Indonesia, in Timor, we have a 4.8 moderate quake there. Just north of that quake, we have a 4.7 in a town, believe it or not, that's spelled F-A-K, Fak, Indonesia. 4.7 earthquake. That earthquake actually happened yesterday afternoon. We go east of there. And these are only the earthquakes that USGS is talking about. Vanuatu had a large 5.0 earthquake that USGS tried to pass off as a 4.9. A 5.0 earthquake near Solo, Vanuatu today. The South Pacific. South Pacific. I want to go over to the Drake Passage. just south and east of South America, south and east of Argentina. There was a 4.6 down here earlier today. That was preceded by a 5.4 earthquake yesterday in the South Atlantic Ocean. Interesting. Also, south of Africa. South of Africa had another 5.0 earthquake there on the Antarctic Ridge. On the Antarctic Ridge. It's incredible. It's incredible to know what we know. It's also incredible to understand that these agencies don't give a flying rat's butt about any of us. They don't. They don't care. I do. I do. We had earthquakes last week over in England. We talked about those earthquakes as well. Did USGS even cover them? Hell no. Nothing said. Nothing said. Why not? Why not? Folks, I want to take you over to the Atlantic Ocean. Okay? See this earthquake here, south of Africa? This is the 5.0 earthquake. Look where it happened. On that earthquake fault south of Africa. That's called the Antarctic Ridge. And you can see the Antarctic south of there. This is the Antarctic Ridge. It's the edge of the tectonic plate there. In southern Africa, we've had a 3.0 and a 3.9 in Botswana, southern Africa. 3.0 and a 3.9 in Botswana, southern Africa. Okay? We don't often see earthquakes there. But that's not all. In the southern Atlantic Ocean, just south and east of the easternmost part of Africa, we have a 4.7 earthquake right here. 4.7 earthquake there. But what they're also not telling us, guys, is just this past Thursday, right here, we had a 7.87 earthquake. A 7.7 earthquake in the Atlantic Ocean here. USGS tried to pass that off as a 5.2. A major 7.87 earthquake here, just last week. USGS tried to pass it off as a measly 5.2 earthquake. Sad. In the Atlantic Ocean. Why am I emphasizing this, guys? Why do you think I'm emphasizing this? As I've spoken about, this is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge here. This is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. It runs way up to the North Pole, way up here. Way up to the North Pole here, and it runs down the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, the North Sea, all the way south of Iceland. It's cutting Iceland in half right here. Notice earthquakes over here in Iceland. Right here. Let's point this out too. Okay? This is near Jan Mayen Island. This is a small 3.5 earthquake near Jan Mayen Island out here in the North Sea. Okay? South of there, over in the Norwegian Sea, we have a 3.5. Notice over here in Norway and Sweden, we have no earthquakes reported. That's strange because usually we have some minor microquakes or tremors all up and through Norway and Sweden here. Today, nothing. And even earthquakes and tremors here in Finland. Nothing reported. Let's continue this. As I said, the Mid-Atlantic Fault cuts Iceland in half. That's one of the reasons Iceland has been having a lot of volcanic activity, is because this seismic activity caused by the Mid-Atlantic Fault here separating. The Mid-Atlantic Fault is separating. It's expanding. Sooner or later, Iceland is going to be two different land masses because the Mid-Atlantic Fault is separating. The Mid-Atlantic Fault is also pushing Canada, the United States, and Mexico in a southwesterly direction. Okay? That's a fact. What's happening down here in Europe and Africa? What's happening here? The Mid-Atlantic Fault expansion is pushing Africa and Europe in an easterly direction here. Pushing Europe and Africa in an easterly direction. That's what's going on. Now, someone asked me just a few minutes ago about earthquakes in Virginia and along the East Coast. Let me give you a brief explanation right today. Tomorrow I'll show you earthquakes hitting all up and down the East Coast, and specifically Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Today, over in New Jersey, this is a 2.0 earthquake here in New Jersey. Why am I reporting on it? Because again, USGS tried to pass this off as a 4.5 earthquake just 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, they tried to say there's a 4.5 earthquake here. Guess what? That earthquake was a very large 5.9 earthquake. A very large 5.9 earthquake. Folks, if this earthquake had been a 4.5, we would not still see aftershocks today. That earthquake was a 5.9. It did damage. There was minor damage from this quake. Fortunately, nobody was hurt or killed. Large earthquakes can cause major damage. That was in Jersey just 2 weeks ago. Not to be outdone, over near where I live. This is Belmont, North Carolina. You can see this dot where I am at right there. Folks, this was a 2.19 earthquake here in Belmont, North Carolina, where I live. A minor earthquake where I live, just south of Virginia. That's serious. Did USGS show it? No. They don't care. They don't care. They showed you the Jersey quake, but they did not show that 2.19 in North Carolina. That's just wrong. That is so wrong on so many levels. Now we got 88 people show with our program. Just a few minutes ago we had over 100. Okay? Incredible. People don't want to hear what's going on. Folks, I want to warn you that we need to pay attention to what we're talking about. If you're here in the chat, you need to pay attention to what we're talking about. We just had 2 people's chats taken down because they had nothing to do with what we were talking about. They had absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about. One person put up something that had nothing to do with anything, except harassing me. Sorry, that don't go well. It don't go well. And now you're gone. I would want to ask all of you for politeness to pay attention to what we're talking about. Because that tells me that you're wanting to know more. That you're very serious about what we're talking about. If you're not paying attention, it's evidence you don't care. And now we have 77 people watching our program again. If you want to put up a website or talk about another channel, you need to send me a message or an email before the program, and then I can talk to you and find out why you want to put that in the chat. Otherwise, you don't have permission to put it in the chat, and it can't go in, and your chat will be taken down. Ask me first before the program, and I might say okay or might not. Folks, this is important. USGS is not telling us the truth. People are going to get killed because they don't want people to know what's going on. It's all about financing. It's all around people wanting to get paid, i.e. politicians. They need to go away. Politicians need to say bye-bye because we no longer want them there because they're not doing the job. Tim is in the chat saying, what's going on? Are there earthquakes or what? Yes, there have been. Yes, there have been. I've been on the air over an hour. I've been on the air over an hour talking about earthquakes. Talking about earthquakes around the world. If you want to know more about what we talked about after we get off the air, go back and pick up where we came from the beginning. And you'll see exactly what I've been talking about, why. Tim Penny says, sir, I just joined your program, would love to know what is it that you were talking about, because I'm on the blind side here. That's the whole point. That's my whole point with everything. People are on the blind side because the agency doesn't give a darn. The agency, the politicians are telling the agency managers, oh, don't tell them that. Don't be honest telling them exactly what's going on. Because all of a sudden, people would wake up and move out of those areas and the politicians would be out of work. I just got to explain all that. That is exactly what's going on. Okay? I'm trying to help people. And Saturday's earthquake in Utah is just one example of USGS lying about everything. Like I said, if that earthquake had been in a population center, people would have been killed by that earthquake. The only reason it didn't happen is it was in a rural mountainous region called Thatcher, Utah. That's the only reason. West of Belmont, North Carolina, in Decatur, Tennessee, we had a 1.79 earthquake there. Okay? We'll talk more about the Wasat Fault this week. Okay? Edmond, Oklahoma. This is a 2.0 earthquake in Edmond, Oklahoma there. Just south and east of there, in Prague, Oklahoma, we have a 1.4. This is typical. Why are we having earthquakes in Oklahoma? Oil and gas fracking operations. There are 586 pumps and jacks all over Oklahoma. 586,000 pumps and jacks all over Oklahoma. Fracking operations cause earthquakes. Fracking operations cause earthquakes. South of there in Texas. And this is a location where we've continued to have earthquakes over the last year. Falls City, Texas. Today in Falls City, Texas, we had a 1.6 tremor. Just 8 weeks ago, we had a 4.5 earthquake here. So this 1.6 tremor is an aftershock of that of that 4.5 earthquake here in Falls City, Texas. Okay? Unreal. But again, why are we having earthquakes in Texas? Oil and gas, folks. Oil and gas. Let me show you something. Let me enlarge this area. It wasn't just one earthquake in Falls City. It was several. It was several. See all these white marks here? All those white dots? Those are oil and gas fracking operations. Oil and gas pumps and jacks pulling oil and gas out of the earth in Texas. Falls City, Texas, 1.6. This other earthquake was a 2.0 also in Falls City. Right next to oil and gas platforms. Right next to oil and gas platforms. Let me show you this. Okay? Look at all these platforms here. One right here. Another right there. One right here. There's three there. There's a fourth right there. Look at here. More platforms right here. Oil and gas. See this holding pond there? There's gas pump Jackson pumps in this area because they are forcing treated sewage water down into those holes where they're pulling gas from. That's how they get the oil and gas out, is they force this water, this treated water, back into those holes to pull the oil and gas out. If you have an earthquake in Texas or Oklahoma or Kansas, even Nebraska, if those earthquakes are within 10 miles of a pump and jack like you see here, it's an oil and gas fracking operation earthquake. Okay? That's what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. Look at all these pumps and jacks all over Texas. Every one of these white dots is an oil and gas platform there in southern Texas. Okay? Western Texas. What about Western Texas? We get all kinds of earthquakes in Western Texas as well. This is Loving County here in Texas. It says New Mexico, but it's in Texas. Oil and gas guys, oil and gas fracking operations. Oil and gas fracking operations, I can prove it. Look at all these dots all over this area here. These are also oil and gas platforms. That's why we have earthquakes here, and this is not in New Mexico. This is in Western Texas. They keep saying, oh, it's in New Mexico. It's not. It's in Western Texas. Toya, Texas. 1.7 in Toya, Texas today. Now, I'm going to go east to west here. There are 6 earthquakes here east to west, right here. I'm going to tell you what those earthquakes are. East to west. Toya, Texas, 1.9, 2.0. 2.1 in Toya, Texas as well there. Okay? Still going west. Culberson County, Texas, a 2.1. 2.1. 2 of them. 2 2.1s there. 2 more earthquakes here. Also, Culberson County is a 2.0. One more here going west. Also in Culberson County, a 1.9. Basically 2.0 earthquakes all over that area. Oil and gas quakes, each and every one of them. Oil and gas fracking operations. Now, there's something else that you need to know about. North of Ecuador here, well, let me go back. Earlier today, I reported a 5.0 earthquake in Ecuador. Okay, a large earthquake. Right next to it, a 4.84. El Playón de San Francisco. Going up into Colombia. Colombia itself has 8 earthquakes there. North of Ecuador, to start, a 2.6, a 2.8, a 2.4, a 3.3, a 2.3 in Meta, Colombia. North of there, Cordoba, Colombia, another 4.73 moderate quake there. We go north from there, north and west, another 4.73 earthquake there. That's just in Ecuador and Colombia now. Let's go south into Peru. This is a 4.2 earthquake in Peru. Let's go to southern Peru. Oh joy. Here we have a 3.6. Look at all these earthquakes in Chile and Argentina here. Okay? All those earthquakes. Folks, today, Chile and Argentina, we've had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 28 earthquakes in Chile alone. 28 earthquakes here in Chile alone. Over here, at the border of Chile and Argentina, is Catamarca Province, Argentina. This is a 3.0 earthquake. This is the border region of Argentina and Chile. Okay? 28 earthquakes in Chile and Argentina alone. Not counting those earthquakes in Peru, 2 of them. 2 more earthquakes in Ecuador. Then we go up into Colombia, where we had 8 earthquakes more. 40 earthquakes in South America, USGS said 2. The USGS earthquake map showed 2, when there's really 40 earthquakes in South America. The sad thing about this is earthquakes in South America are propagating earthquakes going over into Central America, right here. 10 plus earthquakes here, between Panama and Costa Rica. Look at that. "18 earthquakes here. 18 earthquakes here in Central America, just for kicks and giggles. 3.4 and 3.0 over here on the eastern side. Northeastern side of Panama, Costa Rica border area. Over here, this is a 3.5 in Costa Rica. Then we go a little bit north, just a little bit. 3.1, 3.6, 3.3, 3.6, Costa Rica and Nicaragua. Okay? We go north, 2.90, 3.0, 2.8, 2.5 Nicaragua. 3.0 just off the coast of Nicaragua. 2.0, 2.9 are considered to be minor earthquakes. 3.0, 3.9 are considered to be small earthquakes. 4.0 to 4.9 are moderate earthquakes. 5.0 to 5.9 are large earthquakes. 6.0 to 6.9 are considered to be very strong earthquakes, and anything over 7.0 is considered to be a major earthquake. Small and moderate earthquakes here in Central America. That's all that's there. However, what happens in southern Mexico? Southern Mexico. Here's a 3.7. Okay? We have 3s and 4s all over southern Mexico. 3.8, 3.9, 4.0, 3.9, 4.0. Here's a 4.1 in Mazatlan. Mazatlan. 3.5, 3.4, 3.4, 3.5, 3.8, 3.6, 3.5, 3.3, 3.5, and a 3.7. Most of the time there's a bunch of 4s in here, but there's only 3s here today. Small earthquakes here in southern Mexico, but we're not done. Let's go up to the border region. No, I shouldn't say border region. I should say the resort region of Mexico. What is the resort region of Mexico? Manzanillo, Zihuatanejo, Puerto Vallarta, Acapulco. 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, 3.5s there in the border, in the resort areas of Mexico here. Let's go up north to Puerto Vallarta. This is a 3.8 earthquake in Puerto Vallarta. Okay? So we've had another 4 earthquakes in southern Mexico that we weren't even counting before. In southern Mexico today, and usually we have anywhere between 30 and 40 earthquakes in southern Mexico. Today, we've had 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 earthquakes. 20 earthquakes here in southern Mexico. Okay? Incredible. What they're not showing you here is the Gulf of California here. The Gulf of California has been having 4.5s and 5.0 earthquakes all over this area. Did you guys know that this is a San Andreas Fault here in the Gulf of California here, separating Baja California from the northern part of mainstream Mexico here? Moderate earthquakes all throughout this Gulf of California here. All that seismic energy is moving up into California. It's moving into Southern California. I've proven it. I've proven it. Look at the earthquakes here in Southern California. This seismic energy came out of Mexico. There's over 50 earthquakes in this area. Over 50 earthquakes in this area. That should be concerning to everybody, including all those people that live in San Diego County, Imperial County to the east, to the north, Orange County, Los Angeles County. We're having earthquakes, guys. We're having a lot of earthquakes. Richard Smith is a 4.1 just hit over in St. George Vincent Windward Islands of the Azores. Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time. Big time. Big time. One of the mods caught somebody, a troll here, and they put him in timeout. I completely take him off this channel. Sorry, that's the way it goes. I'm showing you earthquakes all over the place. Those people don't care. There are going to be some major earthquakes here in Los Angeles area. I don't know when it's going to happen. With all the energy coming out of Mexico, coming all the way up here, guess what? We're going to see it. So far, Palos Verdes, California, near where my wife was born. Palos Verdes Estates, we have a 1.74 tremor there. Palos Verdes, California. We've seen minor earthquakes and tremors there before. Last week in Corona, California, we had a 4.5 earthquake. Guess what? We have aftershocks in Corona today. Aftershocks. 0.99, 1.0 tremor. Just kicks and giggles. 1.0 tremor. 0.81 microquake. 1.5 tremor. 1.8 tremor. 2.12 minor earthquake. Corona, California. Aftershocks. Aftershocks today. And a 1.72 in Corona. 8 earthquakes in Corona today as a result of a 4.5 earthquake there last week. Folks, when we get this number of earthquakes hitting all the time, it's only showing the large earthquakes coming. That's what happens when we have these quakes in California like this. And we have aftershocks on aftershocks. A larger aftershock is coming. And it's not going to be called an aftershock, it's going to be called a main shock. That's going to do a lot of damage. Wilson says right down the road, been getting shaky up in Temecula. I spent a lot of time in Temecula. I used to live in San Diego, I used to drive up to Temecula all the time. I had friends that lived there. A lot of good friends that lived there. Westminster, California, Hemet, Temecula, Marietta, Hemet. I had relatives and friends all over that area. Now it's getting hammered. Now it's getting hammered. Now, I have quite a few of EMA family members that are covering tornadoes in the Midwest. Our dear friend Hurricane Heather is covering tornadoes and thunderstorms in Oklahoma, Tennessee, Arkansas, all over the place. It's not just earthquakes wreaking havoc all over the countryside. Literally. Literally, folks. Now, some of you might remember that we had a major earthquake in Ridgecrest, California. How many of you remember that? It's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. Let me show you something. This is Bonefish, California, that is just north and, actually not north, it is south and east, no, south and west of Ridgecrest. Bonefish, California here is a volcanic field. volcanic field. That's why we get earthquakes hitting here. Folks, that earthquake here in Boatfish was a 2.36 minor earthquake. They got lucky. They got lucky. Up here to the north, this is north of Ridgecrest. This is a 1.10 tremor in Little Lake, California, the Mojave Desert. The Mojave Desert. North of there, Coso Junction, Coso Volcanic Field. Coso Volcanic Field, we've had a 1.21 tremor, and just north and west of there in Olancha, California. 1.58 tremor in Olancha, California, and a 1.27 tremor in Olancha, California. Olancha, California is 65 miles north of Ridgecrest. 65 miles north of Ridgecrest. This area right here is Ridgecrest. This area here is the Mojave Desert. Ridgecrest earthquake hit here, a 7.1 earthquake on July 4th. July 3rd, two 6.9 earthquakes hit here also right there. USGS took one of them down and said it didn't happen. 6.9 earthquake, they said it didn't happen. They left the other one up but downgraded to a 6.4. This was before I started researching just how strong these earthquakes were. Guess what? Earthquakes are still hitting this area. Now, I told you about this one over here in the Coso Volcanic Field. That's a volcano. It's a volcano, guys. There's something else you should need to know about it. Not only is this a volcanic field, as you can see, there are craters and cones throughout this area. Volcanoes have erupted in this area. You can see the vents all over this area. Well, guess what? There's something else you might not have known. Throughout the years, I've been telling all of you what exactly has been happening here. Ever since Harry Reid, the former late senator from Nevada, NCWQ is here saying she has to go put her grandson to bed. Becky, I appreciate you being here. Thanks for all your help. NCWQ Worldwide News and Disasters Explorer is a great lady. Go over and show her channel some love, please. She's a great lady talking about earthquakes for the most part, but she also talks about weather and all kinds of other disasters. Go over her channel and give her some love. She's awesome. She really is. Anyway, over here in this volcanic field, there are not just pumps and jacks here. Guess what? Harry Reid, the late senator from Nevada, got U.S. money from Congress to go in there and have men and women drilling holes and tunnels into the upper magma chambers of the Coso Volcanic Field. They have drilled the holes in these tunnels or chambers into the upper magma chamber of the Coso volcano to obtain steam to power turbines here in the Coso Volcanic region. So they have drilled holes in the to get to the upper magma chambers of the volcano to power turbines to generate electricity, just like they've done at the Geysers facility in Sonoma County, just like they've done over north of Reno, just like they've done down south over south of the Salton Sea in the Imperial County. They've done it all over. They're doing it in Washington and Oregon at the volcanoes there, including St. Helens, Rainier, Mount Hood, Newberry Volcano, and down over in Crater Lake to the south. Pulling steam from the volcano to generate electricity. Folks, there are now 40 turbines in the greater volcanic area of Koza Volcano. 40 turbines. 40 turbines all over that area. Now I'm trying to find a turbine complex here in this area to show you, because they are all over the Koza volcanic field. What I just showed you was one set of them, but there's a bunch of them all over this place here. Usually I'm able to find them very quickly here, but I'm not able to right now. I'll get to them another time. I'll find those another time and show you. But they're all over this volcanic field. It's huge. This volcanic field is huge, guys. That's why we keep having earthquakes here. Kinfolk is asking a good question. Thank you for asking this. Are the turbines unsafe? That could be debated. That question could be debated. The search for oil and gas and the search for steam from the volcanoes to power these turbines to generate electricity. The search for oil and gas. Each of those holes that are drilled into the crust of the earth. When seismic energy hits those holes, it fractures the rock in those holes, causing earthquakes. That's what happens. It fractures the rock in these holes and causes earthquakes. Is it unsafe? That depends on who you're talking to. I don't necessarily believe it's unsafe, but it seems this way. Okay? Listen to what I'm saying here. I think this is important to understand. These earthquakes are getting larger, they're not getting smaller. And the number of earthquakes is increasing. The number of earthquakes is increasing. Now, you won't know it just by looking at this map here. By the way, this is my earthquake app. The earthquakes that you see here are put up by the European agency, the EMSC. You're not going to see these earthquakes on the USGS map. USGS map doesn't want you to know about it. But the reason I'm showing you this is because this is probably the best way I can show you that these earthquakes are hitting. Because the agency from the United States doesn't want you to know about it. They don't want you to know about it. For example, let's go over to the geysers facility over in Sonoma, California, right here. Guess what, guys? There are over 50 earthquakes here in Sonoma County. Each and every one of these earthquakes are a result of man drilling into the upper magma chambers of a volcano. Drilling into the upper magma chambers of this volcano here to the north, the Clear Lake volcano. They're pulling steam from the Clear Lake volcano to generate electricity down here in the geysers facility. In the geysers facility. And to boot, the Clear Lake volcano is a volcano. It's not just a lake. They may call it Clear Lake, but it's a volcano. Right next to that volcano is this earthquake here. This is a 1.38 tremor at this volcano. As I said, magma is coming into all the volcanoes. Each of the volcanoes around the world is resurging. It's resurging, and we can prove it. We can prove it. Down here in the geysers area, man has drilled into the upper magma chambers of that lake volcano to obtain steam to generate electricity here. This is just some of the earthquakes here. Some of those earthquakes are just 1.0 tremors. Other are microquakes, but others are 2.0 and 3.0 earthquakes. All the time. All the time, guys. Now, I'm going to go in here to these facilities to show you what we're talking about. Okay? I want you to see this. See this facility here? This is one of the turbine facilities I spoke about. They're here in the geysers. They're over in the Kosovo volcanic area. They're also over just north of Reno, and they're down in the southern Imperial Valley area, just south of the Salton Butte volcano. This is a 10 turbine facility here. There are a total of 80 turbines throughout the geysers area. Throughout the geysers area. Now, I'm going to zoom in right next to this earthquake. I want to make a point. See each of these areas here? This is a drill point. 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drill points. 7 drill points. See these white pipes here? See the pipes here coming out of the drill points here that are headed down here? That are headed over here to the turbine facility? Each of those drill points provides steam to this facility right here. And it's just one of many others. A total of 80 turbines in this area. 80 turbines throughout this area. Incredible. Incredible. Spread all over the hills of Sonoma County. Wine country. Wine country, guys. Earthquakes. 50 earthquakes. 50 earthquakes here in Sonoma County. 50 earthquakes today. That's every day. Anywhere from 25 to 30 earthquakes every day, and sometimes upwards of 50 plus earthquakes every day. Every day. That's not all, folks. There's more. There's more. Holly, Oregon. It's a 1.12 tremor here in Holly, Oregon. Okay? North. Let's go north. Mount St. Helens. Mount St. Helens. They're trying to tell us there's only a 0.72 microquake here at Mount St. Helens. If I had the ability, I would show you a seismogram. Well, I do have the ability. I don't have it pulled up right now. But I can show you a seismogram right now that would show you not just microquakes at Mount St. Helens. They're only showing one here. I could show you probably dozens of microquakes at Mount St. Helens today. But I can also show you minor earthquakes and full-blown 3.5 to 4.0 earthquakes at Mount St. Helens today. Heaven forbid they tell us the truth. Mount St. Helens is getting ready to erupt. Mount St. Helens is getting ready to erupt. Now, there's another volcano east of there. It's called Mount Adams. You never see any earthquakes here at Mount Adams, but there are. Mount Adams is not getting ready to erupt, but Mount Adams is steaming. Each of these volcanoes in Oregon and Washington and Northern California are steaming. Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier, they're showing 2 microquakes, a 0.32 and a 0.33 microquake at Mount Rainier. I can show you dozens of microquakes here at Mount Rainier. I can also show you on the seismogram that we're not just having microquakes, but tremors, minor earthquakes, and full-blown 3.5 to 4.0 earthquakes at Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier is getting ready to erupt. If anybody lives anywhere near Mount Rainier or Mount St. Helens, they can verify that they feel tremor activity going on. They can feel earthquake activity going on here at these volcanoes. That's because they are getting ready to erupt. One of my buddies, Ned, who used to live near Mount Rainier, he worked in hydraulics. He felt the magma pumping underground. He felt the magma pumping underground, like hydraulics. I spent a lot of time talking to Ned over the last few years. I know what he's talking about. I know it to be true. The Pacific Northwest is getting ready to erupt in at least 1 or 2 volcanic eruptions. Now, they are also not showing you all the other earthquakes in the area. The only earthquake they're showing today is in Edison, Washington, a 1.55 tremor there. There just happens to be a seismograph at Edison Elementary School there. That's the only reason they're showing this earthquake. A 1.55 tremor at Edison, Washington. Every week I show you dozens upon dozens of earthquakes and tremors throughout Washington and Oregon, because they are lying through their teeth. They don't want us knowing what's going on. Ever. They don't care. They don't give a darn. Alaska. They're not showing all of the earthquakes here in Alaska either. They have 2 circles here. This one is 10 plus and this one is 20 plus. There are 45 to 50 earthquakes here in Alaska that they don't want to admit are actually going on. Okay? Let's go over here to the northeast or northwest. Hughes, Alaska. This is a 1.7 earthquake here. South of Hughes, Alaska is a town called Kobuk. 3 years ago, Kobuk had a 6.3 earthquake here. We are also seeing tremors and aftershocks from that 6.3 earthquake here in Kobuk all over this area. Okay? They don't want to admit what's going on there in Alaska. Going down into the Aleutian Islands, guys. A 3.9, 4.0 earthquake hit here. Okay? Right down there near Adak, Alaska. 3.9, 4.0 earthquake. Not to be outdone. We have seismic energy coming from the south, coming from Indonesia and also the Pacific Islands down there. We have energy coming from there going up into the Philippines, Taiwan, Japan, and up into the Kamchatka Peninsula. Here's a 3.8 earthquake. Just east of the Kamchatka Peninsula. This is a 4.2 earthquake here. Guys, we have we have 7.0 earthquake activity up here in Alaska. Hold up here into the Gulf of Alaska. We are going to have a major earthquake up here in the Gulf of Alaska. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of time. We had a 5.5 earthquake down here in the Gulf of Alaska just this last week. Where did it come from? Way down in Indonesia. Made its way up here into this area near the Kamchatka Peninsula and over here into the Aleutian Islands. Now it's holed up here in the Gulf of Alaska. We are going to see a major earthquake up here as well. Okay? Fact. This is that earthquake I told you about in northern Russia today. This is a 5.3 earthquake. 5.3 earthquake up here. Really quickly. I know it's getting late. It's already 8 o'clock. Going into southern Japan. Here's a 4.8 earthquake in southern Japan today. Okay? We go south to Taiwan. We reported a large earthquake, a couple of them, over in Taiwan today. A 5.6 and a 5.4. 5.4 and a 5.6 earthquake here near Hualien City, Taiwan. Those are aftershocks of a much larger earthquake, an 8.4 earthquake that struck Taiwan over a month ago. It's happening. It's happening. Okay? All over the area. This is Luzon, Philippines, the northernmost island of the Philippines. 3.7 activity, 3.6, 4.1. Luzon Island, Philippines. Okay? I want to come down through the Philippines, guys, here. Look at this. Down this same earthquake fault through the Philippines. Look at all these earthquakes in the Philippines today. This is all going north. This is going to go up here to Taiwan and further up here into Japan within the week. Okay? Within the week. Off the coast of northeastern Mindanao, Philippines, we have a 3.1, we have a 3.2, and we have a 3.0 earthquake. 3 months ago here, we had a 8.4 earthquake here. That's why we're still getting aftershocks here. And over here on Mindanao, Philippines, we have a 3.8 here. Okay? The Philippines. Southeastern Philippines. Okay? 4.1, 3.1, 3.2, 3.6 activity. There's a 4.1 right there. General South Philippines. General South Philippines. Mindanao, Philippines, typically, let me just show you here. This is important to know. This is Davao City, Philippines here. Mindanao, Philippines. We've had 7.4 major earthquakes right here, killing people and destroying the entire city here. We had houses and apartment buildings flattened. Apartment buildings with pools at the top of them, slashing water out of the pools down the sides of the buildings here in Davao, Philippines. We're going to have more earthquakes here. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Let's go down here into Indonesia. Look at the earthquakes here in Indonesia. That's just some of them. That's just some of them. Okay? Look at all those earthquakes here in Indonesia. 20 plus earthquakes here in Indonesia. Why? Because there are 7 different tectonic plates, one subducting under the other. By subducting, I'm talking like this. One plate going underneath the other, just like this. Okay? That's why there's so many earthquakes there. But that's not all, folks. There's more. How about Australia? The USGS isn't talking about any earthquakes in Australia. Here is a 2.0 in Jamestown, southeastern Australia. 2.1 minor earthquake there. USGS isn't talking about it, are they? Not a word. USGS is not even talking about all these earthquakes here. They're also not talking about all the earthquakes here in New Zealand. There are more earthquakes here than the EMSC is showing. EMSC is just showing 2 earthquakes here off the South Island. Crazy. This is insane. The Kermadec Islands, guys. The Kermadec Islands are a bird sanctuary. This area is a bird sanctuary. Nobody lives in the Kermadec Islands. In the Kermadec Island region, we have a 3.1, a 3.37, a 2.77, and a 2.63. We're used to seeing 4.5s and 5.0s here in the Kermadec Islands, and even larger than that. Look at all the earthquakes over here on the North Island of New Zealand here. Did you know right here we have a super volcano? Topo volcano here in New Zealand is a super volcano. And guess what? One of those earthquakes is just on the outskirts of the super volcano. It's a 2.26 earthquake right next to the super volcano. Unreal. There in that area we have a 2.43, a 2.48, a 2.46 right at the volcano there. South of the volcano we have a 2.85 near Whanganui, New Zealand. South of there we have a 2.53. South of there on the southern part of the North Island, it's a 2.4. And then in the waterway between the North and the South Island, this waterway is called the Cook Strait. We have 2 earthquakes here. Okay? 2.69, 2.49. Last week we had 4.5s and 4.8s here in the Cook Strait. Let's go south over here to Christchurch, Canterbury, New Zealand. This is a 2.3 earthquake here, minor earthquake. North of there, this is a 2.36 earthquake here. Christchurch is right here. Can you remember about 45 years ago, Christchurch, New Zealand, had a major earthquake that killed people and devastated southern New Zealand? Yeah. It happens. Over on the southern part of the South Island, we have a 2.5 and a 2.83 here. South Park, New Zealand. Kinfolk is asking, could you check southeastern United States? I will do that, like I said, tomorrow. You can count on it. I will show you earthquakes all over the southeast side of the United States. From Virginia down to Georgia. All kinds of earthquakes caused by the Atlantic Fault pushing the North American continent to the southwest. That's why we're having earthquakes. That is exactly why we're having earthquakes. Okay? They can deny it. They can say it never happens. But guess what? It does. It does happen. Just to give you an idea. Well, I talked about Belmont, North Carolina just a little while ago. Let's not even go there right now. Let's go over to Hawaii. My buddy Richard over in Nova Scotia has been reporting a bunch of earthquakes hitting in Hawaii. Yes, Richard, there have been. A bunch of them. On the Big Island. On the Big Island. Let's look at these earthquakes over near Kilauea. Okay? I want to show you this. Actually, before we get to Kilauea, I want to go south to Pahala. Pahala. We have a 2.7 and a 1.71 in Pahala. There is a small town just south of these earthquakes. A small town called Pahala here. One of our dear friends and family, EMA family members, has their grandkids and children at Pahala, California, or Pahala, Hawaii. Pahala, Hawaii. Okay? There's a reason there are earthquakes in Pahala, Hawaii, but we'll get to that later. I want to go up here to Kilauea. Look at the earthquakes here. Look at all the earthquakes here just to the east of Kilauea. Look at all these quakes. One earthquake over here to the west. Look at all these quakes. This is magma that hasn't made its way over here to Kilauea yet. And this is an old picture, an old satellite photography of Halemaumau crater at Kilauea. Okay? Kilauea volcano and Halemaumau crater. Guess what? All those earthquakes to the east, 1.79, 2.16. That's what most of these earthquakes are. Tremors and minor earthquakes. Now, there's something else that you need to know that I mentioned last week. There's another volcano here. There's another volcano. It's called Pu'u'o. Pu'u'o volcano. Now, if you remember in 2019, there was a great deal of lava in Kilauea and Pu'u'o volcanoes. A great deal of lava. Suddenly, it just disappeared. All of a sudden, all of that lava at Kilauea and Pu'u'o disappeared. What happened to it? What happened to it? Does anybody remember what happened to it? All that lava drained out of those volcanoes and back into the underground magma chambers, magma tunnels under the ground in Hawaii. All that lava drained out into the ground and became magma again. Okay? It drained out over here in the fern forest. It moved over here to the East Rift Zone. Great big huge fissures erupted. 24 fissures erupted here and poured lava all over the landscape. Destroyed 1,500 plus homes. Rendered thousands of people homeless. And that lava made its way to the sea, adding real estate to the Big Island. When it hit the sea, what happened? Can anybody tell me what happened? When that lava made it to the sea and hit the colder waters of the Pacific Ocean, that 1,500 and 2,000 degree lava hit the ocean water. It exploded. Great big huge lava balls went flying into the air, landing on some boats in nearby vicinity. It actually hit 2 people. 2 people had to be taken to the hospital because those tourist boats were too close to shore. And that lava was making a nuisance of itself. Also, something else that happened. As that lava cooled, it made little tiny thin hairs called Pires hairs. As that lava cooled, it made these Pires hairs. If anybody inhaled them, guess what would happen? That tiny glass would get into people's respiratory tracts and cut up their esophagus, cut up their respiratory tracts, and cut up their lungs, and people would die. People's skin was also being cut up by this volcanic glass. People had to learn to wear long sleeve shirts in Hawaii in very warm temperatures, and wearing hats and wearing face coverings and goggles to make sure they weren't getting hit with ash and Pires hair, cutting their skin and eyes and their mouth and their lungs. That happened. Okay? Now, Richard Smith is saying almost all volcanic islands have massive underwater wedges off the coastlines. That's true. That's true. Doggone. Now, what happens? What happens? Off the coast of Pahala, we have underwater volcanoes here. We have underwater volcanoes all over this area. And you can see these underwater ledges here. Some of them do break off. And some of them could cause a small tsunami. There's something else that people have been talking about. I wanted to just talk about since you guys mentioned this. Richard Smith is also talking about another 2.3 minor earthquake over in the Canary Islands. That's what's been happening. Now, over here, just south and east of Kilauea, we have what we call the Helena slump here. This is what they call the Helena slump. What happens with the Helena slump? People, not the scientists, but people were concerned that this great big Helena slump was going to fall off the island and cause a major tsunami that would basically sink the west coast of the United States. It didn't happen. It didn't happen and hasn't happened. And there's a very good chance it won't happen. It's only talk. It's only talk. This is how the islands were formed. Volcanoes opened up and flooded the landscape. And in flooding the landscape, we had a lot of people that moved there and established their homes. We have one more earthquake, or not earthquake, one more earthquake and a volcano to talk about. This is a 2.5 earthquake 7 miles south of Waimea, Hawaii. Okay, look at that. That is a 2.5 minor earthquake. Now, why am I talking about it? Because, folks, right here, we have another volcano. This is called Waialae Volcano. Waialae Volcano is not anywhere close to erupting. Only thing we're getting hit with Hawaii, with the Waialae Volcano are tremors. Just tiny tremors. 1.1 microquakes and such. That's all that's hitting Waialae Volcano. But we have this earthquake over near Waimea. Okay? That's the only thing happening in Hawaii. Okay? Greece is, Richard Smith is talking about earthquakes over in Greece. Guess what? You're not going to see any of the USGS wasting any time over in Greece. Anywhere in that area. But there are earthquakes there. There are a lot of earthquakes there. Let me show you something. Look at all the earthquakes there in Greece. USGS is not saying a darn word about it. There are over 50 earthquakes in Greece. USGS not saying word one about it. Not one word. Over here, this is the area of Syria and Turkey. It shows 20 plus earthquakes here and 10 plus earthquakes here. 40 earthquakes here in this area. Folks, we had a major earthquake here. A 9.10.0 earthquake here. Just last year. January last year. A 9.0, 10.0 earthquake hit here. Can you imagine what these people are thinking every time they feel the ground shaking? For now, all these earthquakes here are tremors. That's all they are. Just tremors. Well, what else happens here in Turkey? Tons of earthquakes. USGS says nothing. Not a darn word about it. Nothing. What a bunch of crap. Italy, guys, look at Italy. Earthquakes all over Italy. 20 plus earthquakes over here in north central Italy. 10 plus earthquakes here. Another 8 earthquakes down here in southern Italy and Sicily here. USGS says nothing. Not one lousy word. Not one lousy word. Switzerland, 1.7, 1.3. Right there. Over here in southwestern France, Velices Nouvelle Aquitaine, France. I can't speak French. Here's a 2.5 earthquake right there. Are they saying anything about those? Not a word. Not a word. Okay? At the French-Spain border, we have a 2.1 here. Not a word. How about these earthquakes over here in southern Spain? Not a word. Not one word. How about these over here just east of the Strait of Gibraltar? Okay, 2.5, 2.7. Right there. 3 earthquakes. Just east of the Strait of Gibraltar. Not a word. There's the Strait of Gibraltar right there. Not a word. Yet it's right on top of an earthquake fault. Look at that. Right on top of an earthquake fault. We had a 5.0 there just a couple years ago. The Azores Islands. Cabo, southwest Cabo de San Vicente, a 2.4 earthquake there. Up here in Portugal, a 2.2. USGS, not a word. Oh, they don't exist. It never happened. Really? Here's a 2.3 over in Tenerife, Canary Islands. 2.3 over in Tenerife, Canary Islands there. Okay? A whole lot of shaking going on, right? Absolutely is. I've basically taken you all over the world. Literally. Literally taking you all over the world. A couple more earthquakes. If you just give me a couple minutes here. Guess what? The Reykjanes Peninsula. It's still moving. Why? We have a volcano just near here. Near here. It's still going on. It's still fountaining lava outside of it. Earlier this year, that volcano erupted, several fissures opened up. Now we have only a crater with lava coming out of it, and a 2.7 earthquake right here. Greenvik is right here. Greenvik is right here. We've talked a lot about Greenvik in the past, haven't we? We're going to talk about it again. Okay? Earthquakes there in the Reykjanes Peninsula. And just south of the Reykjanes Peninsula, out here in the Atlantic Ocean, we have a 2.8 and a 2.1 earthquake right there. Just real quick. Now, if you allow me, we talked about earthquakes quite a bit. We've talked about police officers getting killed. During this past week, and it's ongoing now, we have George Soros and Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab and other elites around the world supplying tents and money to protesters here in the United States that are illegal aliens. Illegal aliens. And the President of the United States is not doing a damn thing about it because he invited those people in. He invited those people in, enemies of the state. What has happened to President Trump? The former president, likely to be our next president. He has been in court because of Joe Biden. He was taken to court by Joe Biden and his cronies. Now he is in court in New York. Judge Mershon, who is the judge in charge, he's the acting judge in charge of the Trump case. President Trump has been honest about everything. President Trump has been telling it like it is, telling the masses the truth, and yet Judge Mershon has given thousands upon thousands of dollars to the Democrat Party. His daughter is a fundraiser for the Democrat Party. His wife has also. Trump has talked about it, and now Judge Mershon has gotten angry with President Trump. He's given President Trump 9 counts of court. 9 counts of contempt of court, charging President Trump $1,000 per count. Today, President Trump was found with 2 more counts. Judge Mershon has threatened President Trump with jail. One more time, President Trump talks about Mershon's family or anything that Mershon doesn't want him to say, whether it be on Truth Social, whether it be at one of his campaign stops, or in the newspapers or anything else. Mershon is threatening President Trump with going to jail. He says, President Trump, I don't want to put you in jail. I don't want to be the man that puts you in jail, because you are likely the nominee for President of the United States, and you probably will be the President of the United States again. I don't want to put you in the prison, but you are almost leaving me no choice. Unreal. Unreal. We have Democrats all over the United States that want him in jail. All because Biden doesn't want him out there. Biden has a 16% approval rating. There's no way in hell that Biden will ever become the next president, unless he cheats, like he has been. Fact. Fact. And you can take that to the bank. Unreal. Aubrey's saying that would likely help Trump in the polls. You're right. And imagine having Mershon put President Trump in jail, and having President Trump literally campaign from jail. And because he would put President Trump in jail, guess who else would be there with him? The Secret Service. The Secret Service. Because they cannot let President Trump go to jail without some kind of protection. And yet Mershon and the Democrats are trying to put him there, saying, oh, he doesn't need Secret Service protection. Biden's trying to put him there and tell him he will yank Secret Service protection. Illegally. Illegally yank Secret Service protection from the next president, from the nominee. The more, and Diane just said here in the chat, and I agree with this, the more they talk crap about President Trump, the more they go after President Trump, the more popular he gets. Incredible. Incredible. Does anybody have any questions for me before I leave you here? Any questions here? For some time now, I have endeavored to give you spiritual thoughts at the end of this broadcast. I'm going to try to take you there tonight. because I believe we need it. I believe what our nation is facing right now and what the world is facing is bad. And things are not going to get any better, if ever. Never. Things are happening. Yes, Richard, I will cover Baffin Bay in Nova Scotia tomorrow. Promise. Aubrey's asking when hurricanes are going to begin. Almost any time. Literally. Literally any time. It can happen. I appreciate that question as well. Brothers and sisters, we are living in a world that is very, very bad. And it's only going to get worse. Diane Kellman's asking, are we going to have preparedness on Friday? Yes. Always preparedness Friday, unless a bunch of other disasters and emergencies happen, and we'll talk about those first, and then we'll get into preparedness after that. But always preparedness Fridays, because I believe we need it. We need it. Now, I had well, I still have, I'm sorry. I still have this. We have talked about our relationship with Christ a lot. We must watch our thoughts, our words, and our deeds. Even I have to watch what I say, because yes, I get wound up. God doesn't give us a list of every possible sin. In the scriptures, what does he do and say? What does he say about sin? What does the Lord say about sin? He says, and finally, I cannot tell you all things whereby you may commit sin. For there are diverse ways and means, even so many that I cannot number them. But this much I can tell you, that if ye do not watch yourselves in your thoughts and your words and your deeds, and observe the commandments of God, and continue in the faith of what ye have heard concerning the coming of our Lord, even unto the end of your lives, ye must what? Ye must perish. We have to watch what we say and do. Because if we don't, the Lord tells us through his prophets that we must perish. The last part of this verse says, and thou, O man, remember, and perisheth not. Ponder ourselves, what our thoughts, words, and deeds, and how they affect us, and how those thoughts, words, and deeds may affect someone else. How do our thoughts, words, and deeds affect our relationship with God? How can our thoughts and words and deeds affect our relationship with God? How do you watch yourself? Yes, I get wound up. Linda Covington says my rants are good rants. They might be. But even I have to watch myself. Because I may be leaning towards the devil. And I don't want to do that. That's the last place I want to go. But the Spirit of the Lord, and this is the way I'm going to end it tonight. The Spirit of the Lord can cause a mighty change in our hearts. My heart, your heart. It's common for people to say, I can't change. I have heard that statement all my life. I can't change. I have even said that. That's just the way I am. In contrast, let's think of the way a prophet of the Lord told people, and even us, how the Spirit of the Lord can truly change our hearts. A mighty change. Now it came to pass that when King Benjamin had thus spoken to his people, he sent among them, desiring to know of his people if they believed the words which he had said. And they all cried with one voice, saying, Yea, we believe all the words which thou hast said, spoken unto us. And also we know of their surety and truth, because the Spirit of the Lord omnipotent, which has wrought a mighty change in us, or in our hearts, that we have no more disposition to do evil, but to do good continually. And we ourselves also, through the infinite goodness of God and the manifestations of his Spirit, have great views of that which is to come. And were it expedient, we could prophesy of all things. And it is the faith which we have had on the things which our King has spoken unto us. And it has brought us this great knowledge, whereby we do rejoice with much exceedingly great joy. And we are willing to enter into a covenant with our God to do his will and to be obedient to his commandments in all things, that he shall command us all the remainder of our days, that we may not bring upon ourselves a never-ending torment, as has been spoken of by the angel, that we may not drink out of the cup of the wrath of God. Brothers and sisters, this is where we're at. We need ourselves to rent on ourselves a mighty change, leading to true conversion to the Lord. We need to bring upon ourselves a mighty change, a true conversion. Righteousness is daily at the cross. Let your heart rest and find true peace. Linda says, God knows what's in our hearts. That's why we need to continue to have a spiritual conversion. We need to have a conversion within our hearts. That the Lord knows what we're doing. What the Lord knows how we feel. That by these same changes, this mighty change within us, that all of these experiences that we face can help us stay away from temptation. A mighty change in our hearts. Brothers and sisters, I testify that each of us must make a covenant with the Lord. We have spoken of making covenants with the Lord for quite a while. Brothers and sisters, that's exactly what we need to do. We must make truly a true conversion through Jesus Christ. Let's make that happen. Let's not face temptation. Let's stay completely away from temptation completely. Don't even get near it. Let's make sure we stay in the Word of God. Let's make sure we stay focused. Because in doing so, we have the Lord to bless us. And the Lord will continue to bless us as we continue to change and grow. May God bless us this day that we might be doing that same thing. Focusing on our covenants with the Lord so that we can continue to be blessed and have that mighty change that the prophets have spoken of. May God bless us always. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, I love you. Please share this program far and wide to your friends and neighbors, to your family and extended family. to the people you work with, and also to your family members and your people in social media. They also need to hear this message. We've given you a lot of information tonight. Everyone needs to have this. Everyone. Please help us grow this channel. If you're not subscribed already to this channel, please subscribe. And when you subscribe, there's a little bell icon right next to the subscription button. Click on that little bell. In doing so, there will be a drop-down menu of 3 items. Click on the word ALL, all. That will get you notified when we come on the air. I'm telling you right now, I come on the air sometime after 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Sometimes it's a little bit later after 7, but not much often does that happen. I will be on the air between 6 and 7 every day. If anything else happens tonight or on Saturdays or even Sundays, we will come on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Be advised. Sunday at 12 noon, I always come on the air to do a Sunday school class called Come Follow Me, the Savior Said. Because that is exactly what the Savior's told all of us. Give up everything we have and follow Him. May God bless you and be with you this night and always. God be with you until we meet again. I love you all very, very much. Take care, everyone. Peace and happiness follow you. I love you very much. Take care, everybody. We'll see you tonight or later tomorrow. Have a good night.